In the late 19th century, the maritime industry was bedeviled by the mysterious disappearance of sea vessels. Roughly one ship was lost every 24 hours, sometimes due to unpredictable climate, poorly charted coastlines, pirate attacks, or a meat-eating sea monster called Kraken. Other accounts claim Poseidon, the god of the sea, storms, earthquakes, and horses, was responsible for these unexplainable disasters. Although technological developments in this sector have helped to lessen the amount of accidents, even as recently as 2005, barges were continuously suffering havoc at sea, leading to a loss of approximately 2 ships per day. What could be the reason for these frequent wrecks? Well, it's not far-fetched. Torrential storms and disturbances known as killer waves were the prime culprit. However, arresting them was quite difficult because their existence was submerged in mystery. Join us in today's video as we sail through the vastness of the waters to reveal the untold tale of these bloodthirsty waves. What are killer waves? Why are they unpredictable? How many types of killer waves do we have? What's the secret pattern behind them? And finally, are they different from tsunamis? Killer waves have constantly featured in marine folklore for many centuries. However, scientists have only recently acknowledged them. In times past, scientists believed that it was impossible to run into a 21-meter-high wave in the ocean. Back then, it was simply unthinkable, and stories of sailors encountering ghost waves were downplayed and categorized as illusions. Contemporary studies also ridiculed the plausibility of such waves occurring, and scientists concluded that we could only witness them at most once every 10,000 years. However, sailors at sea continuously cited this menace. Wave sensors, satellite observations, and camera footage from sea-based oil rigs eventually proved them right. And according to new scientific reports, extreme waves are not a rare thing to find at sea. In fact, they are said to occur once every 2 days. What are killer waves? Killer waves are large, unexpected, and dangerous walls of water that threaten the smooth sailing of ships on the sea. They are sometimes 2 or 3 times higher than the average wave height. More recently, in November 2020, sensors picked up the largest monster wave ever recorded in history as it crashed off the coast of Vancouver Island in Canada. At 58 feet tall, this rogue wave was considerably smaller than the 84-foot Draupner wave that struck off the coast of Norway in 1995. However, the 2020 killer wave was deemed more extreme because, according to data, it was almost 3 times the size of the other waves surrounding it. In comparison, the Draupner wave was only twice the size of the other waves around it. Can killer waves be predicted? Killer waves remain one of the unsolved mysteries of the universe. They have no definite origin, and so far, nobody can predict them. They simply pop out from nowhere and disappear into thin air as soon as they're done with their act. In fact, the first significant evidence of rogue waves only sufficed in 1980 when Philippe Lejeune, the first mate of the Esso Languedoc supertanker, captured a photo of a killer wave that attacked the vessel off the coast of Durban in South Africa. With the help of this picture, investigators compared the height of the monster wave to the ship's mast and eventually concluded that the tide was about 30.5 meters tall. For perspective, the impact from the collision is equivalent to the world's tallest ice tower crashing into you at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour. You wouldn't even have enough time to take a picture of it. Anyway, that one picture that Philippe Lejeune took was enough to convince scientists that the theory of killer waves is not a hoax. However, these severe storm waves still maintain some of the mysteries about them. From this vantage point of view, it appears that the only way to get a hold of these oceanic phenomena would be to understand how they are formed. The Max Wave initiative, launched by the European Union in the year 2000, has been using oceanographic knowledge and ocean wave data resources to study and predict killer waves. The study has revealed 10 giant solitary waves about 25 meters high that were formed in the ocean. Another project called Atlas is pursuing the same goal. However, both systems are not 100% efficient. So, a group of 4 mathematicians across 3 universities based in Italy, England, and the US are currently designing a model that will not only help us understand rogue waves, but will also allow us to predict their occurrence. Let's hope they find some breakthroughs soon. Types of killer waves. Studies have found different types of killer waves, each one delivering a distinct amount of damage. But which one of them is the most deadly? Let's find out. Solitary waves. The first one is called the solitary wave. Essentially, it's a self-reinforcing sea disturbance that maintains its posture while propagating at a steady velocity, more like a strong water wall that doesn't break apart, even when it collides with giant objects. It's strong enough to crack just about anything, including a ship's storage. You've probably heard about the Norwegian Dream vessel that nearly capsized in 1999. It was hit exactly by this kind of deadly wave. To produce a more powerful impact than what the Norwegian Dream ship suffered, you'll need 3 large waves to combine. This phenomenon is called the Three Sisters. This unfriendly group descends on a vessel in a consecutive sequence of 3 consecutive waves. The initial wave makes the first impact on the vessel, and before the ship's crew members realize what's going on, the second wave adds its own momentum to the attack. By the time the third wave arrives, it overloads the ship with tons of water. At this point, the vessel is either completely wrecked or struggling for balance. Check out how much damage the Three Sisters wave did to this Norwegian tanker. If you have reached this far in the video, we would like to give you a huge thanks. You can extend your support by subscribing to the channel and turning that notification bell on so you don't miss any of the content we upload. Comment down below, "I subbed," for your chance to be entered into our monthly shoutout giveaway. Over the years, we've come to believe that waves usually occur above sea level. Well, that's true, but not all the time. In some instances, waves can be formed from underneath the ocean, leaving a trench or void between them, and creating a type of wave condition that scientists call a hole in the sea. If a ship glides into this hole with its bow or stern, it falls into the water column formed by the waves and heads straight for the bottom of the sea. But if somehow the ship manages to sit directly on the waves, the combined force from both ends will make it crack. Thankfully, we don't get to see them as often as the other type of killer waves we mentioned earlier. However, square waves remain the most unusual and deadly monster waves known to man. Watch how it swings the over 100,000-ton Voyager cruise ship around like a paper boat. Square waves are formed by waves from different weather systems moving in opposite directions to form a right angle or checkerboard pattern. The resulting wave traps a ship from all 4 sides in a way that's almost impossible to come out alive. Are killer waves different from tsunamis? Although they're both classified as sea waves, tsunamis and killer waves are 2 distinct and unconnected events. A tsunami is a giant ocean wave caused by earthquakes or volcanic eruptions underneath the sea. From all we've talked about so far, we know that killer waves are not anything of that sort. But what if we told you that human activities can increase the intensity of monster waves? In June 2020, a report published by the journal Science Advances claimed that extreme wave conditions have increased by around 5% to 15% as a result of stronger winds and currents caused by rising ocean temperatures. This means if we do not get our acts together, killer waves could become a frequent occurrence in the coming years, and more sea vessels will be plunged into the bottom of the sea. Have you learned something new about the sea? What do you make of killer waves? Be sure to check out this video over here.